All right, and we're live. Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Multiverse Show, episode 125, the greatest show on Mondays. We got a pure, unadulterated, multiverse kind of show ready for you guys. We have a little bit of everything coming out at you all at once. But first off, we got to do our introductions. We have the Lord of the Storm, Mr. Old Town Road himself, the Titan of Texas, Mr. Fame Entertainment.
I got the horses in the back. Well, what's going on, people? Fame Entertainment from TickGameTherapy.com. Thank you guys for rocking with us once again on the greatest show on a Monday. I'm happy to be back. I'm sorry I missed the last couple of weeks. I have been moving, but I am somewhat finished, good as it's going to get right now. But yeah, we got a great show for you guys. I can't wait to get to the topics. And yeah, buddy.
All right, and we have the Sultan of Syntax, the Paladin of the Piedmont, Mr. Samuel Tolbert.
Hey everybody, how's everything going? We have a great show tonight. We've got a lot of cool stuff to talk about. Let's get it started.
And we have the Chief of Achievements himself, Mr. Undead 3XVI.
What's going on? Glad to be here. Got a drink in hand. It's going to be a good time.
All right, let's get things started. But first off, we have to address a few little things that have popped up in our world. First off, we're going to talk about some of the games we've been playing. It's been kind of crazy. I don't think any new games came out this week. I'm not quite positive anymore. Games just keep falling out of the trees. But
actually, no. There's a recommendation I have to make. It's for the entire podcast. Everyone on Xbox needs to go to the Xbox store right now and go buy Gang Beasts because I'm going to beat the tar out of all. I'm going to beat the tar out of all of you in that game. And we're going to live stream it.
That's a fun game right there. Was it like $15, right?
Yeah. Well, $15 Canadian, so it's like probably like $5 for you guys.
Game Beast.
Let's take a look. We'll pull that up on the side just to take a quick look. So, all right. So you've been playing. I assume you've been playing Gang Beasts then, Nick.
I just bought it. I played it a bit on PS4 for a while, but I don't know. I don't have friends on PlayStation 4 for some reason, so got pretty lonely.
Yeah, I know that feeling. I let my PlayStation Plus subscription expire. Nobody wants to talk to me on there.
I don't think I've had PlayStation Plus since the first 3 months of me owning my PlayStation. So I don't think I've had PlayStation Plus since like late 2017. Honestly.
By the way, Gang Beasts is $16. So that's how much it's running for you.
Fun. Nice little party game.
Oh, it's a fun game, dude. I played it on PC a couple years ago. A lot of fun. I'll pick it up. Right now. Anyway, so wrapping on through, Fame, what you been playing, sir?
Nothing. I've been playing Moving.
That sounds like a boring game.
I literally just unboxed both of my Xboxes and my PS4s. I just hooked up my X. The S isn't hooked up. I literally hooked it up. I haven't been playing anything, dude. I did a test stream for Immortal Rednecks on my laptop just to make sure I could stream everything was right. I haven't been gaming, period. Like, I'm literally going to dive back into gaming this week. Moving has tapped me dry. I didn't have the energy. So nothing. I've been playing nothing.
All right, Sam?
Yeah, I've actually been playing two different From Software games. I've been playing a ton of Sekiro, I finished the game, not trying to. I did finish it. And I have to say, that game has the hardest final boss of any game I've ever fought. It is ridiculous. If you do everything perfectly, and I do mean perfectly, you're talking 15 minutes of tension trying to dodge every single strike, make sure you parry every possible hit. It's intense. It's absolutely intense. Beyond that, I was helping Eric Jackson from Gaming Perspective Podcast get the Platinum in Bloodborne. We were doing some co-oping there. And I played a tiny bit of Apex Legends, and that's about it.
Interesting. So, for me, I actually been playing some Overwatch, which, by the way, leads me into my next topic. So, with Overwatch, the new event's going to be coming out. I think it's the 15th or the 19th or something like that. It's the archive event, which we've been waiting for. And rumor has it it's going to be in Havana, in Cuba.
Ooh. Nice.
So that'll be interesting.
I lied, Anchor.
Yeah.
I did take like 2 or 3 hours, and I was playing Overwatch on PC. I cheated on my Xbox.
You bastard.
Because I've been trying to do the whole mouse and keyboard thing. And so Kevin, who's also with Tick, was like, "Hey, bro, pick up Overwatch." I picked it up on PC. I played like 2 or 3 hours. I was like, "This is some BS," and I haven't played it since.
You want the good mouse and keyboard shiz and make yourself feel really terrible? Download Apex Legends and watch someone 360 you while you're trying to figure out how to reload your gun.
Dude, the whole mouse. It's like it takes bro. Listen, if you're playing with a controller and nothing but a controller, going to mouse and keyboard, you feel stupid. Like
there's nothing wrong with that,
stupid.
Dude. I didn't actually start playing with controller until I was like 8 or 9. I started mouse and keyboard when I was like 3 years old. That's how I played video games. So it's like so ingrained in. Like I could pick it up and go, but like. I remember when I started playing like console, my friend's like, "Oh, here's a controller." And I was like, "What the fuck is this?"
I wish I would have started on mouse and keyboard, honestly. Because it takes a while to pick up, dude. Their muscle memory, like, it's shot. Like, it's shot. You're so used to a controller.
Muscle memory is one thing, and then getting used to playing on really, really high sensitivities as well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I sidetracked us. You said Overwatch. I was like, oh, God, I did play Overwatch.
Yeah. All right. So, let's see. We got a couple topics we want to talk about, but first things first, we got to talk about my man Shazam.
Yeah, buddy.
Dude.
Rolling like a big shot.
I said I would do this week, and I'll talk about it now. We got to talk about why Shazam exists. So, Shazam is an interesting character in that it kind of came around at a very different time frame. He's a golden age superhero who many people didn't know existed for decades. And it's really weird because it's like there's a lot of crazy stuff. Like Shazam was the first person to have his own TV show. And I'm not talking about the one in the 70s and 80s. I'm talking about like originally like the 40s. It was around before the Superman, Batman, all of it. Like it was the first TV serial for any superhero. It was a big deal. So with him, he was better known as Captain Marvel. Shazam was the name of the wizard that granted him powers. I'll give you guys a very brief example of what we're talking about here. So Captain Marvel was not a blonde-haired woman for a very, very long time. Captain Marvel, I'm just pulling up the year. I forget the year that he came out. I want to say it's like 41.
It was in the 40s, definitely. I just don't.
I know it was like early 40s. Where is it?
It was actually 1940.
1940? Oh, I was close. All right, so he came out in the 40s, and like Superman came out like at 38, I want to say. Mm-hmm. So like after a couple of years, and like Batman came out in 39, and this was a non-DC character who came out. It was part of a group called Fawcett Comics. It was Billy Batson, a 10-year-old kid who worked for a radio station, and that's how he found out about crimes going on because radio was the basically equivalent of TV. It was quick; you get answers really quickly, and move on from there. Now, with him, like he was just determined, oh yeah, he was worthy. He was granted by the wizard Shazam to have all these powers, and it was a very interesting time period. So the character was very popular. At one point, he was outselling Batman and Superman, like comics-wise. He was extremely popular. He was dominating. And then all of a sudden, DC said, we ain't going to have that. So what they did is they took Fawcett Comics to court.
When they saying like this is just a copy of Superman?
They said, oh, you broke copyright. You can't have a character with the same superpowers as Superman. And yeah. So literally DC was suing over someone having similar powers. So, yeah, it was not great. Um, and they took him to court, and they kept him in court for years. But during that time frame, Captain Marvel comics couldn't be in publication, so they basically just kind of threw it to the side and didn't really allow any more comics to come out. But then this upstart young company called Timely Comics just recently had a name change. Guys who created Namor the Submariner, Human Torch, Captain America, that they rebranded into Marvel Comics, and they said, it's a real shame that there's a character that exists called Captain Marvel. We don't own that character.
Uh-huh.
So when the time came, and there were no more Captain Marvel comics, they said, hey, well, let's make our own Captain Marvel. And it was just some Kree white dude. And he was really boring. No one really cared about him. And he existed basically just so Marvel would have the rights to have a Captain Marvel comic. And while that was happening, they couldn't put out another Captain Marvel comic. When Shazam actually, Fawcett Comics won that lawsuit with DC, but DC had kept them in court for so long, they went bankrupt. They couldn't afford it because their moneymaker wasn't making any money because they were in court over it.
Yep.
So they went out of business, and DC swooped in and bought him up and then buried him for decades. So never again. Until the 90s when they kind of brought him back for the Justice League show, and that's what I found out about him. And he pops up again. And so then now they have his own movie. And so Fame and I, since we started doing Multiverse show, have been talking about how we wanted a Shazam movie. And we finally got it. And he and I have both seen it. And I've got to say, this movie is by far the best DC movie they've made in the DCEU. Yep. And I even say it's better than Spider-Man Homecoming.
Yep.
And better than about at least a third of the Marvel movies.
It was everything we wanted, like in a Shazam movie. Like, it was damn near say it was perfect. I mean, they did a lot of homages. I don't want to spoil anything, but did you catch the thing with the tiger?
Yes.
References to the tiger.
Oh my god!
Like they paid a lot of homage to the comics. Like, it was, and then the ending was just. It was everything. Yeah. Like, oh my god! Like, I'm happy my man's is finally getting his shine, bro. More people can hear and know about Shazam because dude is a beast. He's an absolute beast, man.
Dude, there were a couple things I think you could have gripes about if you're like a real stickler for the comics.
Mm-hmm.
But you could have a couple gripes, like, okay, Dr. Savannah in the comics is entirely different than this. But at the same time, it's like, this is a good change. Like, he was like, okay, what's his name? I can't remember his name right now. Mark Strong, the actor who did Savannah. Mm-hmm. I mean, his portrayal of Savannah is a compelling character. It's not Dr. Savannah, but it's interesting. It's definitely is. But it's good. It's really good.
You know what I thought was dope? We all know that Dwayne Johnson is Black Adam, right? That's not a secret. We all know he's going to be Black Adam. But I like when the one time they referenced Black Adam, the outline was The Rock. You can clearly see the facial features of The Rock. I was like, okay, that's dope. I had to question my wife. She was like, "It looked like The Rock." I was like, "Yeah, because it is."
But I will say the one thing I did like about it was they didn't use him like that. See, the problem I had with Aquaman was when Aquaman came out, like, they had Black Manta on there, which Black Manta is a great villain, arguably the most noticeable villain of the Aquaman group. But they kind of like sidelined him, and he was there, but he wasn't the main guy, which I thought was a problem. I mean, they set him up, but I didn't like it. I'd rather he have his own movie as his interest.
I mean, they couldn't do too much with Black Adam since he is getting his own movie. So they just had to pretty much set up. Okay, why is there the one wizard left? And they kind of gave you some. Yeah. They gave you a little bit of backstory. I gave them too much, about how they had a previous champion and what he did.
They gave it very, very brief. They didn't talk about it to length, but they definitely kept it a Savannah movie. Mm-hmm. And they set up somebody else. but I can't
Yes,
say it.
yeah, don't say it.
But it's good, and it's one of those things where like if you have no clue about the comics, you're gonna be so confused.
Yeah,
You're gonna be like, "What the hell is this?" Like this is like they do not pull punches on the fan service stuff. Oh my god, I am really like pumped for this. But other than that, I will say at least critique wise, I will say at least in terms of pacing. The third act is kind of long, but it makes sense why it's long. And I can't say why, but it's really good.
all I'm saying is, speaking of good, Megan Good still so fine, bro. Oh my god. And that's not a spoiler. Even though I didn't know she was in the movie.
Yeah, I didn't know a lot of people were in the movie, but I was surprised.
I was shocked. I was like, really? Wow.
Yep.
When I saw her, I was like, yeah, I can get jiggy with this.
It's great. And the best part about it is the trailers gave away nothing.
Nothing. Yep.
Not a clue. Like it was just like, what? Like I didn't see any of it coming. I didn't see like I thought this was gonna be a setup for Black Adam. I thought that's all it was.
Dude, I think Black Adam's gonna be really good, dude, because they're gonna paint, the next Shazam movie. It's gonna be, it's gonna be. I think Black Adam. First off, Dwayne Johnson, anything he does typically it sells like crazy. But I think they did such a great job, like giving you just enough interest to wonder if you don't know who he is to make you wonder about the previous channel. They give you just enough to wonder, and I think if they,
I don't think he's gonna be in the next movie. I don't think he's gonna be in the next movie. I think it's gonna be like the third movie.
Yeah,
they're gonna build both of them side by side.
I wonder if they're gonna his movie has to drop before the Shazam the sequel, right? Like you have to.
Maybe
I don't know. He's definitely getting a movie.
He better get his own movie. they could set him up real well.
He has to. He has a lot of story to tell, dude. He has a lot of story. Like
I would say it'd be. I would even do it like have Shazam 1, Shazam 2 comes out, but then like the same year the Black Adam movie comes out, but then like set it up for 3, like really heavy.
Like Shazam is getting ready to be. He's the lead. He's about to be the lead role in DC.
Oh, dude, he's like he and Aquaman are a tag team.
Yeah, like the whole thing about let's just. Kind of like how a lot of people in gaming say Microsoft relies too heavily on like Halo, Gears, or Forza. That's how DC is with Superman and Batman. And I think they realize now they can't do that because you got so many other compelling characters that you can, if you have a good director and do good casting, you can kick ass with. And that's what they did with Shazam and Aquaman for that matter. But
yeah, and I will, dude. By the way, like, do you think you could take your kids to see that movie?
Which one?
Shazam.
Yes.
How they handle some stuff. I mean, the director is a former horror director, but some of that stuff was pretty dark.
I think most kids will catch some of that stuff.
Yeah, like I had kids. They ain't seen that movie till they're 13.
Dude, of course, my daughter was there, and all she cared about was eating M&Ms and playing on the phone. My son, he's 10. He was in there just rolling, like he loved it. So. Nice. I don't see nothing wrong with kids. I mean, it's PG-13. I get it. I don't see nothing wrong with kids. But I think a lot of that stuff they won't even catch.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like they leaned in real hard to some of the horror elements. Like you could tell a horror director was behind this thing.
There was a couple of moments my daughter put the phone down and she looked and she was like, "Hell no!" Went right back to her phone.
Nice.
Hold on.
All right, we're gonna wrap up. We're gonna move into a different topic. Just be simply because we got stuff we got to talk about. I don't want to keep spending too long on this because we're going to be here a while. So moving on the next little bit here, I kind of want to get some people up to speed about some little things. So one thing I find very interesting was over the course of this generation, the end of it, is we've always seen that consoles are normally the ones that fight it out the most. In terms of Steam and PC, things kind of come and go. It's not like a hard, like this, it's got to be like this forever. But, pretenders to Steam have come and gone. I mean, GOG, Remain Gaming, I mean, Origin, but whatever. But I mean, people have come and gone, but no one's really competed against Steam. But Epic has kind of been very interesting to watch because I think what they're doing right now is they're taking it to that next level where they've realized the only way they can compete against Steam is to play dirty. And that's the only real way to do it.
So Microsoft should have been doing.
Yeah, but it's one of those things where it's like everyone's complaining about how a company is doing it, but it's clearly working. And I don't know what else to tell you guys. But anyway, so I want to kind of catch you guys up to speed. This week we had last week technically we had an announcement that Borderlands 3 is going to be a 6-month timed exclusive on the Epic Store. And it's been some interesting stuff. I'm going to pull up this next little bit we're going to talk about. I'll let you guys kind of take over from there. I want to kind of get your impressions on this, at least in terms of how they're going about doing this. I want to start with Nick here. Nick, what are your thoughts on the Epic Store? Do you think this is what they're doing is technically ethical by buying it timed exclusives, or do you think that you care at all, or what?
He gone.
Nick.
Sorry. What was the question?
Wow.
I stepped away for a second.
No, I was asking you, what do you think about the Epic versus Steam controversy, specifically in the lens of, do you think that what Tim Sweeney is doing in Epic of buying up timed exclusive deals is, one, a good business tactic, and two, ethical?
Oh, boy. There's a lot to unpack with that one. All right, first off, we still keep this PG-13 or no?
TV-14.
TV-14? All right, so Tim Sweeney's an asshole. Like, this guy, literally, every decision he's made with Epic in the past 2 years, he was hypercritical of 5 years ago. So, he was against the Microsoft storefront because it should always be about what the players want and what the developers want and blah, 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 blah. Now I have tons of money. I don't think this way. Regardless of that, is buying up exclusivity ethical? See, this is my big moral dilemma with Steam and the Epic Game Store battle in general is, Epic's giving a better cut to devs, so that's a pro in my mind. And there's also a program that they talked about is if your game doesn't hit what Epic thinks it will hit in terms of sales, they will reimburse you that cash. That's dope. Like, if I'm a developer, I'm all in for that, right? And the thing is that Steam's doing things that are making developers come to them. And what you also got to think is they money-hatted Borderlands 3. They called Randy Pitchford in and literally handed him a suitcase of money and go, Steam is not getting Borderlands 3 for 6 months. And this is what's mind-numbing is, like, you're watching all the big AAA PC games not hit Steam. Like, I think the last AAA, like, big AAA game that wasn't money-hatted out was Devil May Cry 5. Sam, that's not an Epic Store one, is it?
No, Devil May Cry 5, but Sekiro is more recent.
Okay, Sekiro is another one, but that probably had something to do with Activision being the publisher on that one.
Most likely. Most likely.
And, like, you look at... This isn't going to stop. I don't know where people are like, oh, well, Epic's going to run out of money. It's most likely looking, I'm going to say almost definitively, that Red Dead Redemption 2 is coming to PC. It's going to be an Epic Game Store exclusive for a year. Literally every game 2K is publishing now is an Epic Game Store exclusive. You look at Borderlands, you look at Outer Worlds, anything they're publishing is going to the Epic Game Store. So this isn't going to stop. Is the Epic Game Store lackluster? Like, I've taken a look at, seen the features. It's lacking a lot, but Epic has a roadmap of getting all those features online. So eventually by optimistically 2020, the Epic Game Store is going to have the exclusivity and the features. So I'm more interested to see what Steam's going to do to draw consumers in, because really, from what we've seen so far, is Valve is laying on its back and just letting Tim Sweeney sit on top of their chest and punch them like it's grade school. And they're doing basically nothing to keep their customer base. And while the loud and proud on social media are like, we won't abandon Steam, we're going to stick with the Epic Games, your average consumer is already hopped off and is like, oh, a free launcher that I can get these games on? They don't care. That's just where I am at with it. And like me personally, I don't like the Epic Game Store. There's a lot of things with it that are bad, mainly Tencent. I don't trust them. I never will, never have, and I really think people should do some Googling on their business activity and what they do with your player data and everything else. And that's all I'll really say on it.
Mm-hmm. Sam?
Without copping out and saying, oh, I echo what Nick says, the reality is, here's the thing. It's not the same. It's not the exact same as console exclusivity, blah, because you don't have to buy additional hardware. It would be one thing if it was like the Epic Game Store will only work on computers powered by Intel, but it's not the case. That's not the case, so we can't have that conversation. They're asking you to download a different launcher. That's it. And use up 0.05% of your CPU or something like that. Is it a little annoying that you can't have all your games together? Sure. Is it a little annoying that, oh, Steam achievements and, oh, wish list and, you know, friends list and stuff like that? Yes. I don't dismiss those flippantly. Okay, I don't. Like, those are features that Steam users appreciate. And it's something Epic needs to address soon. But here's the thing. Here's the thing. At the end of the day, this doesn't impact your purchasing decision except to say, well, do I want to play the game now or in 6 to 12 months? You can vote with your wallet, okay? You have that power. You have that right. Epic is going to have to respond in terms of features, but Valve needs to respond in terms of these games. They're letting this happen. They are not doing anything. They're the only PC store client, I think, maybe aside from the Windows Store, that compared to Discord or compared to the Epic Store, that is still taking 30%. And so developers are going to be very open to Epic not only giving them a better cut, not only letting them list their games for free if they're using Unreal Engine 4, which a lot of games do, but also, oh, hey, here's a bunch of money to keep it exclusive. Like, if I'm a struggling developer, heck yeah, I'll take the deal. I completely understand it. It's a bit of a messy situation, but at the end of the day, people are going to vote with their wallets, and Steam needed competition. I'm sorry, I legitimately, fervently believe Steam needed proper competition. There are some questions I have about how this affects developers. There are questions I have about how this is going to have long-term ramifications. But in the short term, I don't think Epic has done anything truly, quote-unquote, bad.
Mm-hmm. What's your thoughts on this, Fame? Chime in here.
And he has chimed.
He has chimed his final chime.
We cannot hear you, Fame.
We can see you.
We can see you.
Mm.
What about
That's
now?
awkward.
There you go. There you go.
I sound like poop though.
Now you're being Mr. Mime. That's what
How
you're
does
doing.
it sound?
That sounds fine.
Sounds the same. I don't know
To
what
me it
happened.
is.
I just downloaded the Epic Store right now.
Traitor.
I got the Epic Store downloaded. I got Battle.net. I got Steam. I even got the Twitch thing downloaded. So I don't care if you got the games for me to play. I'm gonna go there to play it. I'm still gonna play most of my games on console, but if it's something I want to play on PC, I'm gonna buy it here, bro. Like I really don't care. Like I think people are blowing out of proportion. If you care that much, I hate Epic that much. And mind you, I could care less about Epic. I think they're a shady company. I don't like Tim Sweeney. I think he's a hypocrite. But if they got something there, if I want to play it on PC and I don't want to wait 6 months, I'm gonna go ahead and play it on there. If I think people who got a problem with it, people wait for games anyway. So why not wait a little bit more and play it on Steam if it's that big of a deal? It's like the rumor about Red Dead, right? If Red Dead rumor is true and there's 6 months exclusivity on Epic Store, you've been waiting this long already. What's 6 more months?
Dude, that's a good point, though. Like, okay, the PC guys are, oh, I'm used to waiting. I'm used to waiting. It's very different if what you're waiting for is something you can get right now at no extra cost. Because, like, okay, it's like, oh, I can wait for Red Dead. I can wait for GTA 5. It's like, yeah, because you're gonna have to spend a couple $100s to go buy another piece of hardware to go play it. But if I tell you you can get it right now, it's not going to cost you anything extra. You can play it right now. You just leave that out there. I'm willing to bet the people who say they're going to boycott, they'll collapse very quickly. They won't be able to survive much longer. I give them like 2 weeks. 2 weeks after a game launches. Because, I mean, look at Metro Exodus. Like, after all that, after they handled Metro, where it was like, oh, yeah, you get pre-orders on Steam. Oh, sorry, yeah, you'll be able to play it, but that's it. No one else can buy it on Steam. And they outsold Metro Last Light, which has been out for years, 6 years, mind you, and has been practically given away on every platform. And they outsold all PC copies of the game, but it was like, what, like by 50% or something? In like the first 2 weeks. 2.5 times more. And it was like, well, there was more advertising. I was like, no, it doesn't mean anything really in this case. Yeah, it was more anticipated, but that's 6 years of sales blown out of the water by one game on Epic alone. I thought you said Steam was going to hold that title. Steam was going to help it sell that much. But I'm not sure anymore. I think if you force people and you tell them okay, if you bake some fresh cookies, you leave that on the table right there on the counter, and you tell them you can have it at any time, and someone's like, I can wait till the end of the night. Are you saying there's no consequence? People will collapse. People will fail. People have bad self-control.
Isn't the Outer Worlds Epic exclusive as well when it comes out?
I know there's a time thing, yeah.
I'm buying that drawing on Xbox anyway, so.
Yeah. I mean, I'm same here, but there's a lot of games, and Epic's been going ham. I don't think you're right, Fame. I don't think it's going to be, or no, it was Nick. I don't think it's going to be indefinite. I think it's going to, like, they clearly can't keep buying exclusivity all the time. But, I mean,
to get things rolling.
Oh, sure. Like next year, I can see through 2020. I can see through 2020.
Agreed.
Of them just buying games left and right.
I'm just saying, I just think, I'm not saying it's the best practice in the world, but that's something Microsoft should do. Microsoft should have had a better effort for getting games to be Xbox Play Anywhere, third-party games. They should have put more effort, because there's no way that they should let Epic jump them already.
Yeah.
Because they've been jumped by Epic. There's no doubts about it. They've been jumped.
Yeah. All right. So, kind of going back to why we're bringing this up in the first place. So, friend of the show, one of my friends, Tip Dog, actually got a interview on Twitter with Tim Sweeney at 1:00 in the morning. That was on April 6th. That was 2 days ago. I couldn't believe it because I was up at 1:00 in the morning. But he actually got an interview and actually answered some questions and real things, like from a Microsoft perspective too, because like they actually answered real questions. So I'm going to read you the back and forth that they had, and I think Tim Sweeney brought up some good points. What we're talking about now, and I'll read the quote for you. So here's the quote that people are referring to when they talk about Tim Sweeney. So Sweeney in an interview said, "Well, I should be very clear. The thing that I feel is incredibly important for the future of the industry is that the PC platform remains open so that any user without any friction can install applications from any developer and ensure that no company, Microsoft or anybody else, can insert themselves by force as the universal middleman and force developers to sell through them instead of selling directly to consumers. I've been selling games directly to customers since 1991 when I was mailing out floppy disks. And when you take that power away, suddenly you have onerous certification processes. You have a distribution monopoly that tends to move towards a advertising-centric sales model. Look at the experience of searching for a game on iOS now. The advertisements for the games you're not searching for appear before the actual stuff you're looking for. And it's a real shame that you've lost closed platforms get to that point. We have a very small set of free platforms open now. There's Windows, there's Linux, and now, and we've got to do everything we can to defend them. So that's what he had said. And what had drawn the ire of a lot of Microsoft and Xbox guys was that he was going after Microsoft for trying to have their own store, for making moves to try to lock down what they could. And so now Tim Dog, actually, I'm going to pull up the tweet here. He says, hey, Tim Sweeney, hey, buddy, just reading this, and I think the same can be applied to Epic Storefront. I mean, you talk about open platform, and then you hold games like Borderlands for 6 months from storefronts. Is that open thinking? So then Tim Sweeney actually responds. He said, that's my sentiment. PC remains open and developers can reach customers however they like. There are many PC stores competing in many ways, competing on user base, competing on revenue sharing, competing on features, competing on games, competing on charity. One second, scrolling down a little bit more. I know they had way more conversation than this. There we go. 1 second. Got to go through all these other people who are inserting themselves into the discussion. Let's try this instead. So I'm trying to find a better way to look at this.
No worries.
Let's see. Because Tim Dog started the discussion, then everyone else kind of jumped off of there. What I'm doing right now is on Tim Sweeney's thing alone. I'm just trying to look for his responses.
New rule: if you're doing something and you're not talking, you got to go on cam, bro.
All right, sorry. All right, I got it now. So Tim Sweeney, so they started kind of going back and forth. People are asking him about some features, and he says, talks about Tencent for a little bit. He says, I support everyone's right to complain about tech industry stuff. Epic Store with exclusive games and a Spartan feature set is a fine target for ire, but please separate facts and opinions on the lies about spyware and foreign control. I'm the controlling shareholder in Epic Games. I've been around since 1991, yada, yada, yada. Tencent is a Chinese company founded in 1998. CEO Pony Ma. Is that real? His name is literally Pony Ma.
Neat.
And other co-founders played a lot of Unreal Tournament back then and visited Epic in early 2000s. 2012, Epic was looking to move to online games. We invited Tencent as an investor. I've never regretted it, and the recent anti-China rage doesn't change that even slightly. It's completely unfounded. Epic has only positive interactions with Tencent on all levels. All of Epic's big decisions are made here in the USA, and I'm CEO. I'm 100% responsible for them. I'm grateful for everyone who has spoken in support. So people started kind of asking questions about, are you willing to sign permanent exclusivity for games? He says, Tim Sweeney says, we haven't considered that. Forever, since forever is a long time. And so someone else kind of like, well, actually, just make sure you aren't weaseling out of this. Have you considered signing permanent semi-exclusivity deals or deals that forbid a company from selling their games in one particular store forever? And he kind of dodges this a little bit. He says, we've never signed a permanent distribution exclusivity. As far as I can tell from talking to the store team folks who are in the office, we've never proposed a permanent store distribution agreement. He's basically saying we haven't done it yet, but I'm not promising about the future. And he also says this would not apply to games Epic publishes ourselves, which are presumably permanently exclusive. One final point: these contracts are exclusives or co-exclusives, sometimes alongside Uplay or Windows Store, are never of the form you can't distribute anywhere but Store X. So yeah, basically what he's saying right now is that they haven't committed to doing anything like that yet. So kind of go back and forth a little bit. Let's see. I'm trying to find some more here. All right, here's another one. All right, so then it kind of goes back and forth a little bit more. So another guy responds, says, PC remains open and developers can search customers however they like. They did before you came along. How blatantly obtuse can you be? And they kind of go back and forth a little bit. And then Tim Sweeney, so the guy says, that's the thing, I believe we should have the freedom to choose, even with the way the revenue structures are all, we all agree those things need to change. If Epic wanted to be at the forefront and make that a big message, I would be celebrating that as long as they stayed in their lane. And so Tim Sweeney says, what's more fundamental, though? Developer freedom to choose which stores to sell on, or consumer freedom to buy any product at any store? The first derives from the developer's creative freedom and the ownership of the works they create. And so Tim Dog responds is, yes, but you shouldn't have to draw lines. That's not fundamental at all. Consumers should always be respected throughout the process. Tim Sweeney responds, the right to buy any product at any store isn't a principle of any known philosophy or economic theory. It would be directly contradict the developer freedom by forcing creators to sell their works through stores against their will, regardless of store terms. So Tim Dog responds and says, well, that's just called respect for each other, especially if your storefront has problems and PC gamers are forced to buy it on only one location. My point is that it's not open, Tim. You can't slice it anywhere different. Another topic is, they're still on the topic of developer freedom. Another person says, what developer freedom? The publishers see your fat wad of cash and tell them to get it in line and sign on the dotted line. And so Tim Sweeney responds, developers own their work and have the right to decide how to publish it. When a developer chooses to sign with a publisher, they give the publisher that right in exchange for receiving some combination of funding and royalties. Whichever party has the publishing rights typically does business with Valve or Epic. Sometimes that's the developer and sometimes it's the publisher. They split the revenue between them however they have agreed. So another guy chimes in, says, Devolver has also expressed a bit of regret as well. In fact, I haven't seen a happy developer yet that is signed exclusive to Epic. And so Tim Sweeney says, I don't know that Devolver has said anything publicly or to us, but many Epic Game Store exclusive developers and pubs have said privately to us they are happy with their decision and firmly believe in the mission of changing 70-30 store economics. The truth is, many are reluctant to speak and publicly support because of the angst and PC gaming folks are directed towards them. Both companies and individuals. It takes a thick skin for anyone to speak up in that situation. And to be clear, it's not the rational arguments against this strategy or expressions of disagreement that makes them reluctant. Though these are industry pros who make hard decisions all the time. And that kind of gets to the root of what we're talking about here. I look at that as actually a pretty well speaking format for this, because on one hand, I can't be mad at Epic making an offer that is compelling to developers. And I can't be mad if someone chooses to go down that route, especially because it is a better deal for them.
If this was Microsoft, Tim Sweeney would be making the most epic rants of all time, where everything he says is fraudulent and it's hypocritical. If this was any other new store, any other store on PC, he'd be pissed. He'd be pissed. He's a fraud. I'm sorry. He's a fraud.
Mm-hmm. What's the rest of you guys' takes on this after reading what I have read?
I'm sorry. I hate the whole. You can tell that he's seen the insecurities that people have with the Epic Store. Like my Fortnite account, I don't know how many times that's been compromised So that tells me the safety and security that Epic provides, which is one of my main complaints with the store. And if he has to go out on social media to tell people I'm a principal owner when Tencent owns 48% of his company, I don't want to hear it. It sounds like he scared the people. Like Tencent literally got in trouble and had to pull a game for a couple of weeks because the game was literally a asset flip data mine for users' information. Ring of Elysium, when it launched, they said to do a bunch of streamers. Everyone got it hyped. People were downloading. It was free. And then it was data mining stuff to the Chinese. So what does that tell you about the company that owns 48% of the Epic Store? I'm not saying any company doesn't sell your information, but as a general rule of thumb, I try to avoid installing things that leave me open to that kind of situations if I can avoid it. And the whole exclusivity thing, is it slimy, I believe exclusivity should only happen if you play some part in covering the cost of development. Like, this is why I had no problems with like studios like Quantic Dreams making games for PlayStation. PlayStation gave them money to make those games. Epic Games literally went to Deep Silver and bought Metro Exodus as a timed exclusive like a month and a half before launch. And 4A Games said they didn't even get a say in it. Deep Silver did it without their permission.
Yeah.
That doesn't scream good business. That screams slime balls. I'm sorry. I have very little respect for Tim Sweeney. I will not install the Epic Games Store. And does Steam need to get better? Yes, there's tons of things Steam can do to improve, and competition is essential. But I don't think how Epic's doing it should be applauded. They're providing competition, but in the worst way possible.
But all that said, the Windows Store sucks.
Oh, seriously.
I can't even download games right now. It's broken.
Sam, what are your thoughts on this?
I already gave my thoughts.
We did this already? Oh.
Yes.
Oh, no, after what I read, though.
My thoughts are the exact same.
Oh, damn.
Tim Sweeney's
I can't play you.
I don't blame any devs. Devs should be told. Like, I stand by what I said before.
Can I just have a second? I can't wait till Saturday to point this out to my podcast, so I gotta do it here. Sure. I love how everyone says the developers shouldn't sign with Epic Games and everything else, and developers shouldn't have that choice. But we have a whole screaming mob mentality about adding an easy mode to a game. And people are like, developer choice is the most important. If From Software wants to make these games, they should make these games. That means the developers should also have the freedom. If they want to get more money for their game, they have the freedom to do that. Just remember what I always say, same energy.
See, I will say the most compelling part of Tim Sweeney's argument that I agree with is that I can't be mad at Epic for offering money. I can't be mad at them for like, hell, if someone's gonna do it, I mean,
this sounds like the great Pitchford tweets after Borderlands 3 was revealed. Is the Multiverse show an Epic Game Store exclusive? Is this how you're going to tell us about it?
Well, no. We're the official podcast of Firehouse Subs Hot Sauce, so we're not right now. Sorry, I didn't tell you guys this. We sold our rights. Come experience the smooth, smoky, tangy texture of the amazing hot sauce from Firehouse Subs. So, anyways, so what I was talking about, at least with Tim Sweeney, the part that I think is actually a good, sound, logical argument is that if a developer chooses to accept such a deal, I can't be mad. Because they made that choice. So then the argument is like, well, what about the publisher? Like, well, the developer chose the publisher. They signed the deal. They said the publisher has my best interest at heart and I trust them. But yeah, I mean, it could be on somewhere else, but at the same time, logically that does make sense. if the developer chooses to accept such a deal, I can't be mad about that. And if they chose to have a publisher make that decision for them, I still can't be mad about that. So yeah, 4A Games went with Deep Silver. They shouldn't have gone with Deep Silver in the first place. But if they went with Deep Silver and Deep Silver made that choice, I mean, by proxy, the developer chose to do that. They put their trust in Deep Silver. The Deep Silver said, okay, you're on Epic Store now as an exclusive. And that's something I got to talk with their publisher about. But I can't be mad about that necessarily. Do I like it? No. Does it logically make sense? Yes. But that's my perspective. So, anything else about that topic before we move on?
No.
No. Okay. So, tonight we have another topic we want to kind of get into. James got beat up in the back by Mike and his gang, so he didn't get a chance to come on the show tonight. But we're going to do this anyway. Game of Thrones is coming back this Sunday. It's going to only like 3 episodes or something like that.
6. It'll be the shortest season, but it's still 6 episodes, and half of them will be like 70 minutes, 80 minutes long.
Yeah. So they're going to be longer than usual, and so Game of Thrones is coming back. So Sam and James and I wanted to kind of do this best of kind of series for just it's not going to take very long. We want to save it to the end of the show. So if you have not seen Game of Thrones and you're actually interested in watching Game of Thrones, you might want to tune out now.
Yeah, like right now.
Same. That applies to Fame and Nick. If you actually care about Game of Thrones, you don't want to be here. So
we will be talking spoilers through all 7 seasons. So
what if we don't care about Game of Thrones?
Then you can sit here.
And that's your choice. But
that's your choice.
But if
you have any interest at all, leave. So,
what were you saying, Nick?
Oh, I said if anyone doesn't want to hear spoilers, I'll hold the door for them. It's fine.
Oh God! Oh God! Man, all right. You had your warning. I assume if you care, you're out. So
yeah,
with that in mind.
All right. So kind of going through real quick. We kind of want to do our top 3. I'm going to go through James's first. Then we'll do Sam's, and then we'll do mine for our favorite episodes. James gave us a little thing here. He gave us a quick little blippet of like his favorites. So his first one they put on here was actually I'm going to go do this based on episodes, like building up. So his top 3 are season 2, episode 9, Blackwater. This is the episode where the Blackwater battle in the bay.
Right.
Is like he says relying on pure action instead of dragons or White Walkers. Yes, it has the epic Blackwater explosion and battle, but film of a bunch of great moments. Sansa being forced to kiss Hearteater, Tyrion's speech to the troops, Cersei drunk, and nearly killing Tommen.
Mm-hmm.
So
there's a lot of cool stuff in that episode. Also, I just like to point out, since James isn't here, I'll sort of speak for him on this and help you. The fact that Blackwater is the first full-scale battle. Not a small duel, not a dozen guys attacking each other, not there was a great victory and thousands of men died off screen. Like, it's the first full-scale battle we get to see on screen in an episode entirely set in King's Landing. The entire episode takes place there. We don't bounce around. And man, they made it work. As a book reader, I was skeptical they could actually transfer the spectacle of what happens. But if you say your jaw didn't drop when the Blackwater was set on fire and the wildfire explosion goes off, you're a liar. I'm sorry, you're just a liar. It's fantastically done.
Yeah. All right. His next episode is the Reigns of Castamere. It's the Red Wedding. I'll talk about that in a minute because that's on my list.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that's a good episode right there. Let me see. Making a note here.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And his last one on here is the Winds of Winter from season 6, episode 10. He says, one second. There you go. It should be here because of the opening 10 minutes alone, the use of the piece of music, the light of the seven, the long shot of the window before Tommen jumped, Arya's return to Westeros, and payback for the Red Wedding, confirms Jon is a Stark Targaryen. The way of this episode, more than any other, sets up entirely new order of things before the next season. So those are his.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you, James.
All right. And Sam, what do you got?
All right. So, Nick, did you want to go first or second here?
No, I didn't have a list. I haven't rewatched in a long time, so I'm really out of the loop with a lot of stuff.
You had ample warning.
I didn't rewatch either. I just picked the ones like, oh, these are my favorite moments, or this is my favorite general thing. So
if I'm like, at the risk of sounding generic as shit,
sure, it's okay.
Red Wedding is amazing because like everyone, like I remember being really excited with The Walking Dead because you never knew if one person would be safe or something like that, and then this show just went off and killed like a bunch of main characters in one episode. And I'm just like, whoa, you could do that? Holy cat! It was nuts. And I'm honestly gonna say one of my moments that physically made me cringe was when the mountain crushed the Viper's head face in. That was probably one of my most memorable moments because I was like, oh my god, he's gonna win. And then 5 seconds later, really disgusting scene, really well done. Absolutely terrifying. Never want to hear someone's eyeballs get crushed again.
Good choice.
All right, that's episode 8 of season 4.
The Mountain and the Viper, which I want to note was adapted almost perfectly from the books. Exceptional work. Really, really well done. Great episode. Great performance by Pedro Pascal and Hafthor Julius Bjornsson as well, who are the Viper and the Mountain, respectively.
All right. Just make a note. Anything else?
Nope.
Nick?
That's it for me. I'll let you guys talk about it.
Okay, right. Gotcha. So I'm just putting in your inputs. All right, Sam, what do we got?
Okay, so for my third, number 3, is Hardhome. Season 5, in my opinion, is one of the weaker seasons of Game of Thrones. That's like saying that my delicacy steak is, slightly less tasty than these other delicacy steaks I've had. Granted, okay, but fortunately, Hardhome makes up for it. Hardhome is absolutely incredible. There's a little bit of cool intrigue. Tyrion is verbally sparring with Dany, figuring out his place. She's trying to figure out if maybe he could make a good advisor. He gives her advice on what to do with the eternally friend-zoned Ser Jorah Mormont. You have a little bit of political intrigue going on with the Sparrows as Cersei is suffering in the cells and she's being forced to confess, but she's not breaking, not yet. She's not going to give in. She's being denied water. But the real amazing thing about Hardhome is the amazing scene where Jon and Tormund and the Night's Watch have gone to, the eponymous Hardhome to talk to the remaining wildlings and to get them to come through the wall because, hey, yeah, I know we usually kill each other for the last 1,000 years, but the dead are coming, and we'd rather you not be meeting that army. And they make some discussions, make some negotiations. They introduce a great wildling chieftain, Carsey, who is an amazing one-episode performer. And then out of nowhere, unlike every other battle in the show, which has been telegraphed for a long time coming up until this point, all of a sudden, a great winter storm rolls in, and the undead attack. And the Night King is there. His army is there. The White Walkers are overwatching everything. One of them is on the ground with the troops as the Whites just pour in. And it's a massacre. To call it a battle is being way too generous. No one can hold them back. There's no defenses. The only saving grace is that we learn that, yes, Valyrian steel is not like normal steel and can hold up to the White Walker weapons without shattering and can even kill them. But all that does is make the Night King think Jon is a mild nuisance. And so he personally walks out there to raise up thousands of dead. They evacuated 5,000 wildlings, but thousands more just stood up after fighting for their lives. It's fantastic. It's absolutely fantastic. My second favorite, number 2, is episode 9 of season 6, The Battle of the Bastards. What do you want to say? It's the battle between John and Ramsay. We finally, after way too many seasons, finally get to see this guy get his comeuppance. We finally get to see, Littlefinger do something heroic and come in at the last moment with the Knights of the Vale. 1-1, the giant literally rips Bolton men in half. He smashes down the doors in a heroic sacrifice. John beats the crap out of Ramsay, and then Sansa feeds him to his own dogs. After way too many seasons, it's the Stark direwolf that flies over Winterfell again, and the Boltons have been completely wiped out. Phenomenal. And then my absolute favorite is one I share with James. It's The Winds of Winter. His points already nailed it, so I'll just reinforce what he said. The first 10 minutes of that episode alone make it one of the greats. But then it keeps on going with the reveal of Jon's true parentage, him being crowned the White Wolf and the King in the North. Then we've got Daenerys and her massive armada heading towards Westeros. Yeah, there's a reason it's my favorite episode.
Mm-hmm. All right. That's good. I will echo another one for mine. So me, James, and Nick all share the same one, Reigns of Castamere. That the Red Wedding was the first time I actually realized I was invested. Because until that point, I was Game of Thrones. Everyone talks about it. I'm just kind of watching it just to see what the deal is. And I got connected with Rob, and I was like, "Yes, King of the North, let's do this. I am ready." And then he dies. And I was like, "No!" It was so rough. I was hurt. I was hurting, man. Oh my gosh. But for me, other than that, then I kind of start spreading out from you guys, at least with this one. The next one that I really dug was 1 second. I'm just getting the episode number here. What was it? I don't want to tell you my favorite yet because it's not the same. So now I'm starting to think about it. Now I'm second guessing things. What my favorites were. Anyway. So my favorite, well, not my favorite. My other one is Stormborn. So this is from season 7. This was episode 2. It introduced one of my favorite characters, although kind of late. He's from the Iron Isles. He is the now challenger to the throne for the Iron Isles. I always kind of dug that whole area. With watching Theon and his sister and all that stuff go happen, I always really dug it because it didn't really fit anywhere. And you didn't know how they were going to kind of fall. Of are they going to go with Cersei? Are they going to go with Jon? Do they have any allegiance to anybody? There's no with them, it was just kind of vague. You don't know how they're going to play. You don't know how they're going to go down. But at the same time, it's interesting to watch and it's fun. And so for me, I appreciated that. So my favorite episode actually comes from season 6, episode 5, The Door. So to kind of give you an idea of what happens in this episode, this is Bran Stark. He learns about the origins of the White Walkers. Jon Snow is just kind of leading up to the Battle of the Bastards. He's just trying to get everyone to unite the North against the Boltons. Euron Greyjoy reveals his return to the Iron Islands. Tyrion Lannister kind of meets with Kinvara. And Daenerys finds out about Mormont's devotion to her and all that kind of stuff. But the end of it is what gets you. Ooh, the origin of Hodor.
Yeah.
That one's just like, that hit deep, man. That hit deep. Of like, sometimes there are people whose only use is one thing. And it will change not the course of history or anything like that. It just changes one little thing, and you have one goal in life. And it's supposed to be that moment. And watching a Hodor and that breakdown and just creating a time paradox. But that's one thing. But the other part being with him as a character and emotionally and philosophically of the fact that maybe you aren't meant to have this long narrative story. Maybe you aren't meant to be the main character. Maybe your job in this whole existence is one moment for you to do what you're supposed to do. And that's it. And that's what this episode does. Hit me deep. I was just rocked to my very core. So I had to put that as my favorite episode.
That's good, man. Can I expand on that episode just a moment?
Sure.
I'm doing a rewatch of select episodes and select scenes and whatnot in preparation for the final season. And I recently rewatched The Door, which is the episode you're talking about, season 6, episode 5. And out of everything I've seen, several moments still make you sigh. Several moments of the episodes I've watched still make you, break up or just groan at what happened. But that one made me cry again. It's just the sheer mind-numbing horror, literally, of knowing what happened, of knowing that, Bran would create Hodor, like you said, just for that single purpose, and that all it was at the very end was the fact that a young boy's mind, forever trapped in the body of a giant, held back all of winter for just a few minutes. And that still gets to me. That's an excellent pick.
Yep. All right. So now we come to the hard part. So we're doing this a little differently, at least in terms of ranking them. So by default, Reigns of Castamere is the top episode. It has 3 out of 4 votes.
That's fair.
It's just and then Winds of Winter is our second. So that's the next one. And so now we kind of get into the hard part of like the 3. Who's in third? So it kind of give you ideas: Blackwater, it's the Battle of Blackwater, the Mountain versus the Viper, Hard Home, Battle of the Bastards, The Door, or Stormborn.
Wow. Go ahead.
I will say, in comparison, I will withdraw Stormborn. In comparison to some of the other ones, it's not as good. But it's one of my favorites. But anyway, anything else?
My vote goes to Battle of the Bastards for sure.
Mm-hmm. And I think Nick made his vote.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's see. I'll try to find out about it. I don't know. For me, if it was coming down to the two of it, Battle of the Bastards definitely there versus The Door and Blackwater. I would say it's between Battle of the Bastards, The Door, and Blackwater, but
I would even argue it's between The Door and Battle of the Bastards.
But as a whole episode, though, I think Blackwater might be better. I think James makes a compelling argument because he says like there's a lot of moments in this and in that one episode that hold it together. Like the other ones are just like there's a few things that are going on. It's not like it's Sansa and having her development, Tyrion's speech, Cersei being drunk, an actual battle. And I would have said Blackwater is probably in there for me.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
So out of all of them. All right, so you're still Battle of the Bastards.
Yeah, but I'd be 2-1 or you guys would be 2-1 at this point. So you can put Blackwater in there.
We'll just stay all 5.
Okay.
Why not? We'll do a top 5.
We'll do something more definitive after the last 6 episodes come out, anyways.
Sure.
I imagine.
Yeah.
Right. Well, that was fun.
I think it'll be better. Okay. That's fun. It's short. Anyway, we're gonna wrap things up here. Do our outros. So we had Undead 3XPI with Nick. He had to bow out. I have a note from him actually now. So he's not gonna be available anymore. So now we got Fame, who had to dip out early because he doesn't want to be spoiled. So, and we got Sam. Where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Samuel Tolbert, TOLBERT. And you can find what I write on TechGamesNetwork.com.
All right. And I'm Anchorman V2. You can find me everywhere at Anchorman V2. Thank you guys for tuning in. And we are out of here, boys.